Just get
आरती हम प्यारी यमुना निकट तटस्थित वृंदावन कानन कल्पद्रुमतलभूमौ चरणं चरणो हरिस्थाप्य तिष्ठन्तं घननीलं स्वतेजसा भासयन्तमिव विश्वम् पीताम्बरपरिधानम् चन्दनकर्पूरयुक्तसर्वाङ्गम् कर्णपूर्णनेत्रम् कुण्डलयुगमण्डितशरणम् मन्दस्मितमुखकमलम् सकौस्तुभोगारमणिहारम् वलयानुज्ज्वलयन्तं रलविलुलितवनमालम् स्वतेजसा भास्करकलिकालम् गुञ्जावारिकलितं गुञ्जान्विते शिरसि गुञ्जानं सर्वलोकै गुञ्जान्तर्वर्तिनं नमत मन्दारपुष्पवासित मन्दारसेवित परानन्दम् मन्दाकिनीयुगलम् नमतमहानन्दं महापुरुषम् सुरभिकृतदिग्वलयम् सुरभिशतैरावृतः परितः सुरभिक्षपणमः नमत। बोलो वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, श्री रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की, जगत गुरु श्री कृपालु जी महाराज की, श्री राधा गोविंद धाम की जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे।
वसुदेवं सुदेवं कांक्षिचारि सेवके कमालिन नासाद्रैवमौक्तिकं करतः वेणुं करे कङ्कणं सर्वाङ्गे हरिचन्दनं सुललितं कण्ठे च मुक्तावलं गोपक्रीपरिष्ठितो विजयति
बोलो लाडली लाल की। Radhe Radhe to everyone. Welcome back to the continuation of the Ram Katha. I'm covering some of the highlights of Shri Ramcharitmanas. Yesterday we reached the end, near the end of Aranyakan, where Shri Ram had gone and given his darshan to Shabri. During that meeting with Shabri, he explained to her Navadha Bhakti. In the Bhagavatam, Prahlad ji also tells about Navadha Bhakti, 9 ways of doing devotion to God. Although there are many more than 9, but many saints have come to primarily focus or tell people about these 9 forms of devotion. Now, in the Ramayana, when Sri Ram tells Shabri about Navadha Bhakti, his 9 forms of devotion differ slightly, which is fine. As I said, there are many, many ways to do devotion. So Ram focuses on a few others. Now, if I were to do vyakhya of all of them, it would take up the whole night tonight. So I'm just going to choose a couple and point out. One that he mentions is remembering his leelas. And since we've been focusing on that for the whole week, it's good to reinforce that remembering Ram's leelas is a form of bhakti, and he lists that as one of the 9 main ways of doing devotion. He also mentions Santa Satsang, associating with Sant. And Sant does not just mean a religious person or a person in holy garb, but a God-realized saint. Sat Sang. Sat means Satchidanand, God, and the saint who is one with God. So Sat Sang, joining your mind. Sang means associating, which means 2 things to come together. So associating with a true saint, Satsang, this is one way of doing devotion. He also mentions Guru Pada Seva, devotion to the lotus feet of the Guru, doing seva, doing service to the lotus feet of the true saint. who you have accepted as your guru. Now there are two that are not limited just to the bhakti we do when we're thinking directly of God in meditation, but they also relate to how we interact with others, in other people in the world and the world itself. So jumping down to the end, number 8 and number 9, because these are very interesting that Ram included these. Number 8, he mentions being content is his 8th way of doing bhakti. Being content with what you have. And that's like 8A. 8B is not fault finding. He mentions that again. It was mentioned earlier in the Ramayana as well. Not fault finding. Being santushta. Just being content with whatever amount of worldly wealth, well-being, comforts, all of those things, whatever we have, being content with that. That is a form of bhakti. And in 8B, not fault finding. Jagadguru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj also focused a lot on this, because since our mind is always active and the goal of devotion is to purify the mind, we actually have to be aware where the mind is going and what it's doing every second of the day. See, bhakti is not just something to be practiced for 1 or 2 hours of the day. Bhakti is a consciousness of the mind. It means a way of being, a way of thinking. It's an awareness or a consciousness that you want to develop in your mind. And it means that every second counts, because a moment spent dwelling upon another's fault is just as important as the moment you spend thinking of God, doing bhakti. Why? Because that fault you're finding, that's a Mayic thing, it's a negative thing. So what are you doing? You've put your mind in Maya, and you're thinking about a negative Mayic thing with emotional force. What happens when you think of something with emotional force? I hate that thing in that person. When that person does that, when that person has some version of that in our mind. So that emotion behind that fault finding, we don't just casually fault find, right? Casually fault finding would be fine. If we just noticed, oh, this person has this character flaw and we let it go, fine. But we don't casually fault find. We emotionally fault find. And that means that now that our emotions are involved, our heart is melting. And what happens when your heart melts? The thing that it's melting for enters your heart. What thing? The very fault you despise. Imagine that. The very thing you despise, you're imbibing that into your own character by dwelling upon it. That's why it's so important. If we're doing 1 hour of devotion a day and spending 23 hours in critical thoughts of others, fault finding, negativity, then we've taken 1 step forward and 23 steps back. Therefore, controlling what our mind gets up to during the rest of the day is also very important. Number 9 also has 2 parts to it, 9A and 9B. He says, to have faith in him, and thus, having faith in him, not to be excited when something good happens to us, or disappointed when something bad happens to us. That's 9A. This is a big thing as well. If you think about your life, you have certain things you want to do, certain things you want to accomplish. You have goals, and all of those things are good. But what if you do reach a goal, or what if you don't reach a goal? If you do reach a goal, what happens? You get really happy, really excited. Ram says that's not bhakti. That means your mind is attached in that thing that you were trying to accomplish. Try to accomplish it, fine, no problem. You have to live in the world. But don't get excited if you succeed, nor should you be disappointed if you don't succeed, or if something bad happens to you. Don't be disappointed. Why? He says, have faith in me. Keep your mind in me and know that the world is the world. Whatever comes and goes in this world, it's bound to happen. It's unavoidable. So neither should you get excited nor disappointed. And in 9B, he says, be simple and straightforward in your behavior with others. Be saral. Arjavam is one of the Daivi gunas that he mentions in the Gita. It means being straightforward. Saral swabhav naman kutilai. He tells the Ayodhya Vasis that the person whose heart is very simple and straightforward and lacks cunningness, craftiness, being manipulative, the one who's simple and straightforward is very dear to me. So in this way, Ram described to Shabari the different ways of doing bhakti, and even included a couple of things that we normally wouldn't think would be involved in bhakti, but are very important for someone on the path to consider. Keeping the mind out of fault finding, because if your mind is in someone else's fault, it's not in God. So it's not doing bhakti. Being content with whatever we have, having faith in Ram, neither rejoicing in success nor being depressed when something bad happens to us, and being straightforward and simple in our behavior. Then Ram asked Shabari, we're looking for Sita. Do you know anything about her? And she said, you already know everything, but since you're asking me, I'll play along. Go to Pampa Sarovar, and over there, you'll find someone named Sugriv, and then your mission will be accomplished through the help of Sugriv. So Ram and Lakshman head over to Pampa Sarovar, a beautiful lake covered in blooming lotuses with lots of birds and animals around. And over there they met Naradji. Naradji was feeling a little guilty about having cursed Ram to have to come down on earth, and he had also cursed them that you'll have to suffer the separation from your wife. So he thought, let me go and see how he's doing. And then he came and met him, and he apologized, and Ram said, oh no, this is all my Leela. You did everything according to my wishes, and everything is going according to plan. Don't you worry. So they had some discussions, and Naradji was very happy. He went on his way. Ram and Lakshman went further ahead. So here Aranyakand ends and Kishkindhakand begins. So now Ram and Lakshman have actually come south from Maharashtra, where Panchavati is, in Maharashtra, Nasik, that area. They've come south into Karnataka state, which is where Kishkindha is. Nowadays, it's Karnataka. So over there they come to a hill named Rishyamukh, and Sugriv is nearby. Sugriv is hiding out in Rishyamukh, and he sees Ram and Lakshman coming, and he's fearful because he's hiding from his big brother Vali. So he thinks Ram and Lakshman look very strong and very beautiful, but perhaps they could be spies sent by Vali to try to figure out where he's hiding. So he tells Hanumanji, his minister, take the form of a Brahmin, go in disguise and try to find out who they are and what they're doing. So Hanumanji takes the form of a Brahmin and goes before Ram and Lakshman. Initially, neither Hanumanji recognizes Ram and Lakshman, nor does Ram recognize Hanumanji. The devotee does not recognize his Lord, and the Lord does not recognize his own devotee. Hanumanji comes and he says, "You are so beautiful, so divine. Is it possible that out of the three, Vishnu, Shankar, and Brahma, are you one of them? Or are you perhaps Nar Narayan? Ki tumhati maha." Out of those three, Vishnu, Vidhi, Shankar, and Vishnu, are you one of them? Ram is listening. Brahman is Nar Narayan. Or could you be Nar Narayan? Ram is watching him. I wonder who this Brahman is. Hanumanji gets asked by Ram, please tell me about yourself. So they're chatting. Finally, Hanumanji recognizes his Lord and he falls at Ram's feet. And Ram, hearing Hanumanji talk and grasping his feet, and then takes the form of Hanuman in his monkey form. Then Ram recognizes his devotee. And Hanumanji asks that, my Lord, I am an ignorant, he's playing the part of a soul. So he says, oh, I'm but an ignorant devotee of yours. So it's quite natural for me under the effect of Maya to not be able to recognize you. But how is it that you were unable to recognize me? This is amazing. Anyway, it's all Ram's Leela. So now the master and his servant have met. They've been rejoined. Hanumanji tells them about Sugriv, and Ram agrees to go and meet him. So Hanumanji picks up Ram and Lakshman on his back and takes them up the mountain to meet Sugriv. Sugriv is very happy to see that Ram and Lakshman appear to be friendly, otherwise Hanuman would not have brought them. Hanumanji arranges an alliance. He brokers an alliance between Sugriv and Shri Ram. He lights a fire, and Agni Dev becomes the witness, and they both swear to support the other. First, Lakshman tells Ram's whole story so that Sugriv would have the background and would know what's going on. Who is Sita? Why are they looking for Sita? So hearing this whole story, Sugriv agrees that yes, I'll help you. Then Sugriv tells his whole story, that I'm the younger brother of a very powerful warrior, Vali. And one time there was a demon that came and challenged Vali to a fight in the middle of the night. Vali went out to fight with him, but the demon ran away and hid in a cave. So I also went with my older brother. Vali said to me, I'm going to go in the cave and kill this demon, but if I'm not out in 2 weeks, see this big boulder? Close the cave with this boulder. Because if I'm not back in 2 weeks, it means the demon has killed me and we don't want the demon to get out. So close the cave if I'm not back in 2 weeks. Sugriv, out of love for his brother, waited a whole month outside the cave. And after a month, he still hadn't closed it, thinking that maybe there's a chance he'll come. But then there was a flow of blood that made its way out of the cave. So he's thinking that Bali must have died. He told me if I'm not back in 2 weeks, it means I'm dead. It's been a month and now all this blood has come. The demon must have killed him. So let me close the cave so that the demon doesn't get out. And he rolled that big boulder and blocked the cave. And he came back. When he got back to the kingdom, all the ministers were upset that now we have no king. So they insisted that Sugriv become the king. Now it turns out that Bali wasn't dead. He had actually killed the demon. When he tried to come out of the cave, he saw that his brother had blocked him in the cave. So he eventually pushed his way out. And then he came and he found his brother ruling his kingdom. So he became furious and he beat Sugriv and threw him out and took his wife as his own. So Sugriv told this whole story to Ram, saying that I'm very afraid of Bali. You know, I ran to the only place that I'm safe from him. This Rishyamukh hill he's unable to come here because of a curse that Shabari's guru gave to him, Matanga Muni. One time, Bali had killed another demon, and that demon, in the form of a buffalo, had flown through the air and landed on Rishyamukh hill, and a few drops of blood had dropped into Matanga Muni's ashram. So he was upset about that, and he gave a curse saying that whoever is responsible for this, if that individual comes on this hill, his head is going to shatter into pieces. So when Bali heard this, he said, I'm never going on Rishyamukh hill. And since Sugriv knew this, he said, that's the best place for me to hide out so that my brother can't find me and try to kill me. Hearing all of this, Ram said, okay, I'm going to help you. And he talked about how one's younger brother's wife is equal to your daughter. So what Bali did was a big sin. So he said, he's worthy of punishment, so I'm going to help you. He told Sugriv to go and call Bali out for a fight. He did, and Ram was saying that I'll kill him. And of course he had to kill him without coming in front of him, because Bali also had a boon that whoever comes in front of him, he gets all of his strength. If someone comes in front of him to face him in a fight, he gets all of his strength. So obviously he would defeat him. God generally respects boons that have been given to people, but finds a way to accomplish his goal anyway, while also respecting the boon. So Ram said, I'll shoot him with an arrow from behind this tree. You start the fight with him. So they started fighting, but Ram couldn't tell them apart. So Sugriv got beat again, and he came back. He said, you didn't shoot him. What's going on? He said, I couldn't tell the two of you apart. Here, wear this flower mala. Now I'll know the difference between the two of you. And he touched his body, and all the pain went out of his body, and he went back to fight Bali again. So this time Ram shot him from behind the tree. He hit him in the heart with an arrow, and Bali lay dying. Before he had come out to fight Sugriv, his wife Tara had said to him, you know that he has the support of Ram and Lakshman now, right? And you know who they are? He said, don't worry, my dear. Ram looks upon all equally. So if I get killed by him, I'll go to his divine abode. So I'm going out to fight. He was happy about it. And now when Ram came to him, Vali, although he was very happy on one hand, but outwardly he said, "Oh Ram, you have killed me in a treacherous manner. This is not befitting of someone who has come on earth to establish Dharma." And Ram said, "But you're a great sinner and you've gotten what you deserve." Bali said to him, "Am I still a sinner even though I've taken refuge at your lotus feet at the time of my death?" Ram says, "No, if you're surrendered to me, then you are mine. So I'm making you immortal. I'm bringing you back to life." Bali said, "No, no, 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 no. Janma janma muni jatan karahi antaram kahi nahi." Munis, rishis, yogis, they spend their whole life preparing for the moment of death, trying to be ready to say Ram's name at the end. And they're unable to succeed. At the moment of death, they don't succeed in saying Ram's name. And here I have you right here with me as I'm leaving my body. So no, please don't keep me alive. I'll happily go. And then Bali easily left his body behind and went to Ram's divine abode. Then Tara came out and she was crying that now her husband Bali is dead. She came, Bali is lying there, she was wailing and crying and lamenting. So Ram gave her some knowledge. Ram said, "Prakat so tanu tav aage sova jeevan nitya kehi lagi tumarova." Oh Tara, this body over which you're crying, it's made of Panch Mahabhut. It's made of earth, water, fire, air, and space. And ati adhama sharira. It's also very dirty. This human body, although we keep the outside smelling nice by using soap, and we keep our nails trimmed, and we use toothpaste and mouthwash to keep our mouth from smelling, but inside here, ask any doctor. If you open up any part of the human body, there's nothing appealing about it. Just under this skin, right? What's there? Nothing anybody wants to look at. What's in here? Nothing anybody wants to look at. So Ram says, "Ati adhama sharira." This human body really has nothing to get attached to. It's just made of material substance and it's full of filth, and in the end it returns to the earth anyway. So Tara, you're sitting here crying. So for what are you crying? Kehi lagi tumarova. If it's the body you want, you still have his body. His body is right here. It's sleeping before you. And if you're crying for the death of your husband, Jiva Nitya, your husband is a soul. Bali is a soul. And the soul can never be killed. In the Gita, Shri Krishna says the same thing. Ajo Nityah Shashvatoyam Purano Nahanyate Anyamani Sharire. He tells Arjun that you're worried about the death of these people. Nobody's body dies. Pardon me, nobody's soul dies. The soul is not killed upon the death of the physical body. The soul was never born, and the soul will never die. So Tara, what are you crying for? Then Tara received the knowledge from Shri Krishna, and she stopped crying and she was enlightened with this knowledge. If only it was that easy for us, right? It's not, because of our deep attachments. I meet so many people around the country and around the world, and I see that although someone with true spiritual knowledge suffers less upon the loss of a loved one, they still suffer. No one is immune from it, because up until God realization, we have attachment. And if the attachment is there, it doesn't matter if Shri Krishna himself comes to you and says, Ajo Nitya Hanyamani Sharire, or Ram comes to you and says, Jiva Nitya. It doesn't matter. Because if our heart is attached, it takes years of bhakti to reduce those attachments. And it takes the moment of God realization to transcend those attachments forever. And as long as one is attached, to whatever extent we're attached to that person or that thing, when we lose them, we feel pain. It's unavoidable. But here Tara was instantly relieved of her pain by Ram's words. She accepted what he said. It went all the way into her heart, all the way into her mind, and she said, yes, he's right. This body is temporary anyway. It was born to die, and the soul is eternal. So for what am I crying? After this, Ram had Sugriv perform the last rites, the Shrad, for his older brother Vali. And then he had Lakshman perform the coronation of Sugriv and install Angad as the crown prince. As Vali was dying, he said, my son Angad is in your hands now, Ram. He is your servant. Please accept him and please protect him. So now Ram cared for Angad as his very own. And he was rightfully established as the crown prince who would inherit the throne from Sugriv. So now Ram had accomplished Sugriv's end. He had killed Vali and made Sugriv the king. And Sugriv got his wife back. Now it was Sugriv's turn to help Ram. But at this time, the rainy season began. And you can't go anywhere during the rainy season because everything is bogged down in wet mud. There's no sense trying to walk anywhere. So Ram said, I can't stay in your city because I'm supposed to be on Banvas. I'm supposed to be staying in the jungle. So I'm going to go over there in those hills. And once the rainy season passes, then we'll pick up where we left off. So Ram went and he found a nice cave. And he and Lakshman passed the whole rainy season, a couple of months, just staying in that cave. You'll be amazed to hear what Ram said one day when it started thundering, when there was a big rain cloud. And the thunder was rumbling and the lightning was flashing. Ram said, Ghana ghamanda nabh garjat ghora priyaheen darpat man mora. He says, Lakshman, the clouds are rumbling so loudly. I feel frightened without Sita by my side. It's another example of how when Ram comes here on earth, he behaves as sometimes he behaves as an ordinary man. Even Shri Krishna. Karmanyani hasya bhavo bhavasyate durga shrayo thari bhaya palayanam. kalatmano yat pramadayutashraya swatman rate khidyati dhir vidamya. Brahma says in the Bhagavatam, khidyati dhir. Even a highly intelligent person, if he tries to analyze God's actions, his mind will fail. He will become utterly confused. As an example, Brahma, although he gives several examples, the one related to fear is that he says, "Oh Shri Krishna, you are Kalatma." In other words, you are the Lord of the God of death. The God of death trembles before you and does all of his work with your permission. Therefore, just as every person in this world, if the God of death were to come before them, they'd be trembling like this. Oh no, oh no. The God of death trembles like that in front of you. That's how powerful you are. And yet you ran away from an insignificant little demon named Jarasandha. You're the God of death. You create and destroy this unlimited Brahmans with a mere thought. And yet when Jarasandha attacked Mathura for the 18th time, you fearfully ran, you and Balaram fearfully ran all the way the coast of what's now Gujarat. And you didn't even stop there. You left India altogether and went on an island off the coast and set up a new city for yourself there, Dwarika. Who can analyze and understand that? God, the Lord of all, the Lord of the God of death, fearing a demon and running away from a fight. Who could understand Ram fearing a rain cloud, saying that, oh, if my wife was with me, I'd feel so much better. I'm feeling so frightened of this thunder and lightning. So this is Ram's Leela. We should actually enjoy that. Wouldn't that be nice to see Ram like that? Wouldn't you like to have that vision of Ram in the cave, looking a little frightened from that thundercloud, saying, Lakshman, I'd feel so much better if Sita was here to comfort me? I want to see that. So that's the way we should take all of Ram's Leelas. Just lovingly remember them. It's a way of getting closer to him by thinking of his Leelas. After the rainy season passed, Ram knew. He said, Sugriv became king now. He's been enjoying all the luxuries of the kingship for the last couple of months. He's forgotten all about his promise to me. Lakshman, go and remind him. Frighten him. Don't hurt him, just frighten him and remind him of his promise. Right around the same time, Hanumanji is saying, my friend Sugriv, by any chance you haven't forgotten about your promise to Ram? Oh yes, oh, my promise to Ram. I forgot. I was so, and he gives actually a long talk about the attractions of the world and how they can make anyone forget about their spirituality. And he says, oh yes, quickly, Hanuman, send out messengers to all the four corners. They have millions of monkeys. We call them monkeys. The Banar actually walked upright on 2 feet. And they could talk, just like you and I talk to each other, but there's no other word for it, so we call them monkeys. There are monkeys spread all over. We have to send out messengers and tell them to come because they have to help in the search for Sita. And tell them they have 2 weeks to get here, or else they'll have to deal with me. Under threat of death, they must be here in 2 weeks. Now send out the messengers. So luckily he had just done that before Lakshman arrived. And Lakshman came and said, Sugriv. Oh yes, my lord. In fact, he didn't go in front of him. immediately he said, Hanuman, send Angad and Tara. They went and paid obeisance to Lakshman, and then Sugriv came after them. But he came very humbly, and Lakshman said, okay, let's go. Ram is waiting to see you. So they went and met Ram, and all the monkeys came, millions of monkeys. Shankarji said, if anyone who would have tried to count all of the monkeys who showed up, that person is a fool. No one would have been able to count them. They were so numerous. So they all came. And Sugriv, in fact, first Ram met each and every one of them and asked after their well-being and their family, how are you? He met each one of them individually, and then Sugriv organized them all into search parties. And he gave them an inspirational speech before they went out. Deh dhare kar yah phal bhai, bhajiya Ram sab kaam vihai. Oh, my friends, this body you've received is only a temporary thing, and to get the chance to use it in service of the Supreme Lord, what better thing than that? In fact, this is the very goal of your life, to serve Ram through your body, your mind, your actions, your words, everything. So fear not, my friends. Renouncing all fear and all attachments, surrender yourself to Ram and go forth and do his seva. So they all went out. And before they went out, Sugriv told Hanuman and Angad and Jamvad and Nal and Neel, you head to the south. And before Hanumanji left, Ram, knowing that Hanuman would be the one to find Sita, gave him his ring and said, when you find Sita, comfort her in many ways and remind her of my strength. And also tell her of how much I'm suffering in her separation. And Hanumanji left. So Tulsidas Ji says, although Ram knows everything and he knows already where Sita Ji is, and he knows who's going to find her and how the whole thing's going to play out, nonetheless, making an example of good statesmanship, he sent out scouts in all directions to search for her. So all of the Banars, feeling very lucky, remembering Ram all the time, feeling so lucky to get to use their body in the service of Ram, they searched everywhere, under every rock, in every tree. They tore through the entire India looking for Sita. But of course, it was the party that had gone to the south, which ended up with the treasure, getting the chance to discover Sita. But something had happened. Sugriv had given an ultimatum also, that no matter what you do, be back within 1 month, even if you haven't found her, so that we get your report back. And if you stay out longer than 1 month and come back without having found Sita, then you will die. There was a big ultimatum. Come back within 1 month, even if you fail to find her. And if you come back and it takes you longer than a month, then you will be killed. In other words, if you stay out longer than a month, you'd better have found Sita. So Hanuman, Nal, Neel, Angad, and Jamvant have been out for longer than a month, and they haven't found Sita yet. So what happens next? We'll get to that tomorrow. Bolo Raghavendra Sarkar Ki. We'll do a few minutes of kirtan. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Sri Ram. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Sri Ram. 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 बोलो सियावर रामचंद्र की